to the conference center. Please enter your passcode.
4053 #29217 #.
Your passcode has been confirmed. Please wait while you are joined to the conference. The conference is now being recorded.
So that we can pass it.
So, for the industry, what would be decline, and for us, are we in line with the industry in terms of decline, or can we?
We are maintaining market shares as of now.
Okay. And lastly,
we are focused on the cash flow in this business along with the capacity rationalization. Those steps we are taking.
Got it. And broadly, the mobility business, can you indicate what would have been the losses on the electric three-wheeler business? Because the margins again here have corrected quite materially. I'm presuming that could be partly because of, or largely because of, increased activity for the electric three-wheeler launch.
So Meyapan, Meyapan, do we have the data? Can you share?
Yeah. See, consolidated, sir. The difference in the mobility, 37 crore is there. There is a loss which we have shown. Then 39 crore is the mobility on account of e-mobility.
Got it. Thanks. I will come back in queue.
Yeah.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Next question is from the line of Abhishek Ghosh from DSP. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, just one question in terms of the slight softness in the top line is also on account of some amount of pass-through of the lower commodity prices. Is there also an effect of that?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and that would be to the tune of 5 to 7%. Would that be a fair estimate?
Generally, we don't quantify, but you can assume it is around those numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but what you can do is so Mukesh, so basically, it's about right.
Okay. So where we're coming from, the volume growth is fairly healthy. The moderation is largely because of the commodity pass-through. That's the way to look forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So the other thing is, in the last con call, we were kind of talking about some amount of inventory pile up at the global levels, and that's why there was a little bit of destocking which was happening. So how is the situation now? Obviously, you have an advantage of catering to many countries, but just from the broad level of exports, which is about 20%, how should one look at the outlook on that?
I mean, yes, please. Go.
Yeah, sorry. This is Murali, Head of Implementation. The stocks are getting slowly liquidated, and we are seeing the signs of recovery from the month of January onwards. So we see that in the coming quarters, the volume requirement of most of the exports customers, mainly in North America and Europe, will get revived.
Okay, that's helpful. So just one other thing, railways, if you broadly look at it, which is a part of the metal form, there's been a lot of upbeat in terms of the overall outlook, and that's a segment which through the crisis didn't do well. Any thoughts in terms of how should one expect the contribution from there in terms of growth rates and other things, and given the overall outlook on the order book there?
If you take this. Yes,
maybe you answer.
Yeah, I will take it. As of now, the government of India has started rewarding the new contracts, which are the pipelines, and contracts are getting confirmed. But scheduling, there is a bit of delay. We are optimistic about these sectors going forward. But as of now, in Q2, there was not much of progress. But the new contracts, good news is new contracts have started getting released, and we have participated in that, and we are hopeful the coming quarters will be better in the railways.
So railway has still not started contributing to the volume growth. It will only come in the coming quarters. That's a fair assumption.
That's right.
Okay. And so just one last question. In terms of the new CapEx that you have announced, of that 140-150 crores of CapEx, what should one assume that peak revenues that you can do from that plant?
As of now, we are running on the capacity is utilization is getting close to 100%. So we generally take a proactive step in doing the capacity expansion in terms of the foreseen growth in that sector. And as you are aware of that, infrastructure spent by the government of India is multiplying, and we expect the construction industry to do pretty well going forward, and which is going to result in the more volume for large diameter plant. And that's why we decided proactively to expand the capacity, and which will help us not only on the capacity, even on the capability front also to contribute for the coming time.
So my question was more around, can you do a peak revenues, something like 400 crores out of this plant whenever it gets fully operational?
We can assume that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I'll come back and thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Participants, you may press star and one to ask a question. Next question is from the line of Nishant Jalan from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, this is Nishant from Axis Capital. My question was primarily on two fronts. One, on the EVs side, just wanted to understand, we had launched our three-wheelers, so any initial feedback. And last call we mentioned that we will launch our electric tipper in December. Has that launch happened, or what is the new timeline? So if any update you can give us on the EV business, that would be great. And second question is, what are our net debt levels now in both standalone and consolidated entity? Just wanted to understand, because we have done some acquisitions and making seed investments for EV business. So wanted to understand how is the balance sheet looking like.
Sure. So first on EV, so the EV three-wheeler, we did have the marketing launch for it. We will start manufacturing and put out the first set of products in March is our current plan, and then start selling increasing volumes from April onwards. On the EV tractor also will follow, the EV truck, the 55-ton truck will follow a similar timeline. The EV tractor is something that will still need full homologation. So that timeline, we're estimating that we'll get homologated in that March-April timeframe, which means that sales will only happen in the July timeframe. The EV tractor timeline is a delay from what we had anticipated in the past, right? So that is in terms of when we assume the revenue on these three products will start. The question on net debt at a standalone on a console level, is it 170 crores of net debt, Mayappan, or I?
Yes, sir. 170 standalone, correct.
170 standalone, and obviously, like you know, CG Power has 600 in net cash. So at a console level, we're still positive, but CG and Shanti are both cash positive, and to the extent of about, I would estimate between the two, about 650 crores. And Mayappan, you can have, if you have the exact numbers, Mayappan, you can give us, but standalone net debt for TI is 170.
Yeah, 170.
Got it. Just one follow-up. I was not very clear on exports, commentary on exports. You did mention that, I think the last quarter you had mentioned that exports are weak because the markets are not in a good shape right now. So how did it pan out for us in the third quarter? And I just understood that you mentioned that the outlook is getting better now from January onwards. Did I hear it correctly?
Correct.
And any numbers you can share for the 9 months? How has the exports panned out for us in the 9-month time frame? Has it grown, declined, and what percentage of revenues for the standalone entity are coming from exports?
Standalone on the TI basis, because the domestic demand was pretty strong, there is a decline of about 1% in overall pie. But overall, maybe let's say in terms of absolute numbers, maybe we are able to maintain it.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and one to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Hardik Doshi from White Whale Partners. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking the question. My first question was on the three-wheeler electric vehicles. You mentioned you were launch the product in April. Can you give an update in terms of the distributors and geographies and
Hardik, sorry to interrupt you, but your voice is not coming very clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so, I just wanted to ask a question on the three-wheeler electric vehicle that you're launching in April. Can you give an update in terms of, who are the, how many distributors have you gotten on board or dealers you've gotten on board? What is the geographic distribution and what is the profile of, these guys? Because obviously we're launching on the OEM side for the first time. So how are you convincing them to kind of come on board? So we have Paul or Sushant on. Can they answer that?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. This is Paul here. I think in the first phase we are looking at the southern states for our launch for the commercial production and the supply, which, as Mr. Valan said, commences from March onwards and then steadily we ramp up. The distributors around these areas have been selected, and currently we have about 42 distributors with us along with the service center. And by year end we plan to be at about 75. That's the plan. We are going systematically and then we go, state by state. We've had very good interactions with the distributors. We sent some products to a few of them and it has been tested and they're quite positive about it. We are getting into the final stages because the battery homologation, one part on the change on standard had to be done, which we have obtained, and the last part is what we are obtaining. In February we hope to get that, and so in March we should be full scale supplying the plans that we have made. While selecting the dealers also, we have been very careful in working out the ROI carefully, so that that there is based on the volumes that we estimated, so that we could sufficiently keep them motivated.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just a follow-up. What is the profile of these distributors? Are they existing OEM, dealers already, or are they like part of the Murugappa group?
And most of them are, some of them are existing, some of them are new. Some of them have experience not in three-wheelers, but in the OEM business of vehicles, etc. So it's a good mix of people, predominantly a little younger in nature and wanting to make a difference is the kind of people in terms of the profile that we have taken.
Okay, got it. Just one follow-up question on the other parts of the business, like you mentioned the optical ends and then possibly looking at medical equipment. Can you just give maybe a more broader overview as to how are we looking beyond EVs in terms of the new areas that we are looking to diversify into?
Well, sir, you want to take it, this question, or shall I do it?
Yes, go ahead.
Regarding MedTech, maybe we are still exploring, and at appropriate time we'll announce it to the market what are the areas we are going to enter it. And in optics, we have acquired a facility in Noida, which we are happy to announce that maybe that is touching break-even levels now, and we are increasing our share of business with the low metapixel volumes as of now, and at appropriate time we will even expand the business to do camera modules for even the higher pixels.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you must press star and one to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Vimal Govil from Alchemy Capital. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, sir, my question is on industrial chains exports. If you could just highlight how have they done, and even highlight what is the domestic picture looking like over there. And I'm sorry to make you repeat this, but I missed out on your electric three-wheeler costs that you probably highlighted earlier in the call. If you could just probably mention that again. Thanks.
First, I'll take on industrial chain. Industrial chain exports, particularly in Europe, there is a bit slowdown because of the issues related to Europe. But otherwise, all other geographies are doing pretty well. And we also announced in that particular business also to do more OEM acquisition on the new product development side. And forecast seems to be good going forward even for industrial chains. And the domestic business is also doing pretty well in industrial chains. Paul, sir, you can take.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Sir, Paul, sir, you mentioned
the question on EV.
Yeah, Paul, sir, you mentioned something on electric three-wheeler cost that came about in this quarter earlier in the call. If you can just highlight that once again, if it's okay.
So the figure, I think, Mayapan shared there, asking to.
I think it is not about the cost, it's the profit. There is a loss which the three-wheeler, the total PACNTL made during the quarter is 39 crores. You're referring to that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, got it, sir.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, and sir, within industrial chains, if you can just tell us how much is autos at this point in time?
Industrial chains is nothing to do with autos.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Anupam Gupta from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Morning, sir. The first question is relating to the three-wheeler launch delays which have happened. You have mentioned two standard changes which have happened. Can you just highlight what were those changes and what is that is affecting in the delayed launch versus the September marketing launch which happened?
I'll take that question. I think in interim, if you know that there have been two standards on battery that has got announced by the government, NHI, which we have to comply with, and therefore that entailed doing revising the specifications on the batteries and having adhering to those safety standards, which are the new ones that they're regulated, and that's what has been one of the reasons where we had to raise on. For example, there was a CAN-enabled charger and many other stuff that they mandated, which resulted in the delays of the launch. The other thing also was that we took that opportunity to do a lot more reliability kind of tests further to just assure ourselves. So these are the two reasons. The other one was also the ramping up of the supply volumes, and aligning them with the quality and delivery standards, and having everything up to date for them to be capable to ready just in time supply. So this combination of factors is actually resulted in this delay from the launch. And now going forward, as we already mentioned, in March we should see the first vehicles rolling out for sales.
Sure. That's helpful. So the second question is slightly, let's say, if you look at the medium term for EVs, I think as of now it's more of sort of assembly with some structural doing yourself battery and cells being, I think even motors being outsourced and acquired from third party. If you can highlight what will be the path to indigenization in sourcing for yourself for both three-wheelers as well as trucks. So from what are we at right now and how will we change that in terms of sourcing? How much will come in-house? If you can highlight that.
Yeah, I think we have to break this question down into two parts. The first part would be in terms of three-wheelers, we are sufficiently indigenized, excepting for cells which we have to import, not only us, everybody else. Battery is assembled here, the motor and controller in vehicles. There is nothing to import there. That's the first part of the three-wheeler. On the heavy commercial vehicles, there is a huge opportunity of indigenization, and we are working around those plans, to materialize our first half of next year in stages with that cost reduction program related with batteries, related with the motor controller, related with cabin, and a few other items. We are seized of that. There is a internal plan that we are monitoring, and the way we look at it in the first half of next year, there will be substantial reduction in cost and also in terms of the lead time for supplies, because it will get indigenized. That's the way we are working around this.
Okay. And just maybe more from a slightly longer term in the same aspect, what part of, let's say, the three-wheeler or trucks will you want to retain with yourself and not do even on an outsourcing basis to ensure that you are competitive versus in the longer term? So what portion of the supply chain will you want to have with yourself?
Yeah, I think the first part would be, gradually we would like to see that the software and associated hardware we are largely controlling, because the vehicle, is going to get more and more, software driven. And so those differential advantages we would want to retain with ourselves. And actually we are arming ourselves to be able to get to that stage, to be able to do that. That's the phase that we would do. The second is with the volumes ramp up, we should be able to get far a lot more suppliers whom we can synergize with each other and thereby look at stable supply chain and stable costs. That's the second thing. Third thing is in terms of how we look at which components in the supply chain would be outsourced, which components do we manufacture ourselves or assemble ourselves, is another view that we have taken, and we are working around to that to get to a much more leaner and cost-effective supply chain.
Okay, understand. This is helpful, sir. And just one last question from my side on the optic lens business. What is the update on that? Have we got the full sort of validation, or what's the timeline for that?
In optical lens, our samples has been given and it is approved, and we have received the first set of orders, and now to deliver that to entire commercial production, and we are in the stage. We hope to deliver that in this quarter.
Okay, understand. That's all from my side, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Mahesh Bendre from LIC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sir, about the optical lens, from whom we have received the orders?
Generally, we don't share the name of customers, but it's basically in China and Korea.
And from which industry side?
It's for the optical lens, maybe for automobile industry. We are talking about the AA optics.
Okay. And sir, the second question is regarding the investments in electronics and medical devices. Is it possible to share what kind of at least investment we are looking for a medium-term perspective over next 2-3 years in terms of growing this business organically, inorganically? Any timeline budget on this?
No, I think it's too early in some of the new businesses to give any forward-looking statements. So we will refrain from that. It's kind of till we get more comfort with the business.
But sir, if I look at for next 3 years, do you think this business can materially add more than 10% of our sales?
Yes.
And if the investments required for these businesses, this will come internally, or is it that we need to raise the cash for these businesses?
So we said that we will continue to take. So yes, I mean, in a situation where we do believe that it does not make sense, because basically what we've kind of openly discussed with you is that we don't want to go more than 2 times free cash flow as debt, right? So we believe that a business is better funded by bringing in external investments. Yes, we will pursue that.
Okay. And so last question is from Tube investment perspective, our company will keep developing businesses in our subsidiary and Tube investment will act as a holding company, or is it that we can develop the business inside the company as well?
So in some, it's going to be dependent on the nature of the business. In some cases, they will develop in Tube. But like in specific areas like in clean mobility, because it makes sense to kind of keep that as a separate standalone entity, or kind of if we like when we go down the path of perhaps a totally different business like MedTech or something, then we will basically push it out as a separate entity, as a subsidiary basically.
And electronics and medical devices will be the same thing whenever we will develop those businesses?
Right now, like electronics, is the Motion acquisition is different, but then otherwise, kind of electronics, we've not kind of created a standalone subsidiary for that. So, like I said, it's going to depend on the nature of each business. It would make sense for that business to stand alone as a separate subsidiary, then we will do that.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to all the participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next follow-up question is from the line of Abhishek Ghosh from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity again. Sir, few questions. We've seen a very sharp moderation in the overall shipping rates and supply chains have gotten normalized. Are you seeing any impact of that on the imports for certain of your segments? Because import substitution was also a big theme. Any sense on that?
When you think of import substitution, okay, I'm just going to answer that first and then you can jump in. To your question on import substitution, when we talked about some of these new businesses, right, that's what we talked about import substitution from a reference to. And I think that thesis definitely continues to hold, right? We don't see any change in that thesis because there are 2 things driving it, right? One is the pricing. The second is clearly India wants to make a lot of this ourselves within the country. So I think that will continue, right? I think to your second question, I don't know if you were also talking about just imports in general and what's happening on that front. I don't think, besides of steel, which we import a small quantity of, I don't think we do kind of anything much more significant on that front.
Okay. No, so my question was more around, in generally across when we are seeing where people had benefited because of lower imports, because of higher shipping cost, I think those benefits are going away. So I was more trying to understand, are you also kind of seeing those impacts or benefits going away? That was my question, but I think you've made it clear. So that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, sir, if in the last year's annual report, you had articulated that broadly in small bits and pieces, you'll be putting up 4 new plants, which either had just got commissioned towards the year end or through the year it will get commissioned in terms of the 4 new plants which were there in terms of the Aurangabad auto chain unit, industrial chain, new tube mill at Chennai. Just in terms of have they been able to ramp up or what is the status or should we assume growth coming from those in the subsequent years? Just your status there.
Okay, these are plants of the existing business.
Yeah, existing business. Whatever investment we have done in the Rajpura on the tube mill side, we are able to ramp up and it is getting fully stabilized. In terms of, we took some initiative for putting a capacity on the exports capability development side. That is ramping up. New programs are getting awarded on the export business, and it's a question of time we will start increasing the capacity utilization. All of the CapEx are work in progress, like on industrial chains, and on the CRS side, which will take about industrial chain, we expect it to be over by next quarter, and CRS will take about another few quarters to get it commissioned.
Okay. And sir, the other thing is, whatever margins that you've reported in the current quarter, that does not include any one-off or anything. This is X of that, right? Is that a fair assumption?
That's right.
Okay. So margins from here on, these are base margins, and margins should improve from here on given the operating leverage and overall, benefits of the Project Leap and other things. Is that the way one should assume?
Yeah, that's what maybe generally we don't give forecast, but that's what we attempt. We are driving it internally.
Okay. Great, sir. Thank you so much and wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and one to ask a question. Next question is from the line of Rohit Ohri from Progressive Shares. Please go ahead.
Hi, team. I've got 3 or 4 more questions related to Shanti here. If you allow me, then I should ask.
No, I think we've said this, right, which is we got to do kind of, maybe we can just take one question, from you, but kind of, our preference is to do the subsidiaries kind of in independent meetings, even those are independent listed companies on their own. We can take one question from you, sir, just for the call.
Okay. So Shanti is exploring some opportunities which is related to some buying of plant in Sanand, and there's an agreement that Shanti has entered into. So if you can just take us through that, what sort of area is there available in that plot? What is the amount that you intend to spend? And which is the area where you see that there will be stronger demand coming from the GGB business?
Mukesh.
So like you said, that we already signed the agreement in the West for expansion. Today, Shanti is more of a south-based manufacturing company. We want to actually expand our operations to get the operating leverage as well as getting into new sectors like renewable energy. That's the intent. We want to do it in West, and hopefully that plant should be up running in next 1 or 2 quarters.
And the spends, if you can share, and which segment do you intend to focus on?
I mentioned that maybe it will be renewable energy and the gear business, whatever we do in Shanti here, that will be done in the West.
Could you can just help me with the cash levels or bank balances that Shanti here has as of 9 months?
Again, we can't go through all of this level of detail, so I appreciate it. We are happy to take your question offline and answer it offline. You can contact us kind of, in investor relations.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, star and one to ask a question. Next question is from the line of Vipul Kumar Shah from Samangal Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. My question is, what is our cumulative investment till date for electric 3-wheeler, the truck and tractor, and what will be the capex for next financial year in all these 3 products?
So we are not discussing a capex number yet for the next financial year because that plan is ongoing. We're in the middle of our business planning cycle. We will have a number for you on that by March when we take our business planning cycle to the board. In the 3 businesses to date, the total expenditure that has come off of internal accruals is to the extent of about 500 crores.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But we'll share that with you. We'll share a capex estimate with you after we finish our March call. So it will be in the next earnings call.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. A reminder to all the participants, you may press star and one to ask a question. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you.
So would you like to give any closing comments?
Oh, nothing from our side. I think kind of, so I mean, we continue to be, bullish on the overall outlook. I think, like we told you in the past, kind of, some of the new businesses will take time to kind of set root and start growing. But we continue to be kind of extremely bullish about both our new businesses and the existing businesses. The two segments in which we are seeing a certain level of sluggishness obviously is the bicycle business and currently on railways and PI, though we do see that changing with some of the new announcements in the budget as well. And overall, we are quite excited about the outlook for the next financial year, which seems very promising at this stage. And that's it from my side. But I'm happy to turn back on the phone to you and take the questions from there.
Sure. Thanks, Valian. Thanks for the time, and we can end the call here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of IIFL Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.
Thank you.